In December 1941, during the early years of World War II, the coastal city of Casablanca in Morocco drew in visitors from all corners of the globe, especially those seeking refuge from Nazi-occupied Europe. These individuals included both transients seeking safety and those looking to make a quick buck. At Rick's Café Américain, a swanky nightclub owned by American expatriate Rick Blaine, played by Humphrey Bogart, a diverse group of people gathered, such as gamblers, refugees, Nazis, resistance fighters, and criminals. While Rick was once idealistic enough to risk his life fighting fascism, he is now bitter and cynical, declaring himself neutral and detached. Ugarte, played by Peter Lorre, brings Rick letters of passage. He reveals that he acquired them by killing 2 German messengers. These papers allow their holder to travel without restriction through Nazi-controlled Europe and ultimately make their way to the neutral city of Lisbon, Portugal, where they can then journey on to the United States. For the refugees stuck in Casablanca, the letters are a priceless commodity. Ugarte plans to sell them to the highest bidder, who he expects to meet later that night at Rick's club. However, Ugarte is arrested by the corrupt Vichy police captain Louis Renault, played by Claude Rains, before he can make the exchange. Unknown to Renault and the Nazis, Ugarte had previously given the letters to Rick for safekeeping. Through Renault, Rick is introduced to the small group of Nazi officials overseeing Casablanca, including Major Strasser, Conrad Veit, who is there to conduct a staff inspection and shows no hesitation in expressing his distrust of Rick. In fact, Strasser goes as far as to ask Rick if he believes the German war effort could reach the coast of the United States, including New York City. "There are certain sections of New York, Major, that I wouldn't advise you to try to invade," Rick warns him firmly. Rick's bitter feelings are reignited when his past catches up with him, in the form of Victor Laszlo, Paul Henreid, and Ilse Lund, Ingrid Bergman, who arrive to purchase the letters. Laszlo is a renowned leader of the Czech Resistance who had escaped from a detention camp, and the letters are their only means of reaching America to continue their mission. Ilse, who had fallen in love with Rick when they first met in Paris, believed her husband to be dead. But when she discovered he was alive, she left Rick without explanation and returned to Laszlo. Ilse attempts to explain herself to Rick after the club closes, but he is intoxicated and rudely rejects her. At different instances, Rick and Ilse subject themselves to emotional pain by asking Sam, the club's piano player, to perform as time goes by, a tune they once cherished when they were romantically involved in Paris. It's worth noting that the iconic line, "Play it again, Sam," which refers to this song, is not actually spoken in the film. Ilse says, "Play it, Sam," and later on, Rick commands, "Play it." As Sam plays the song, Rick reminisces about his relationship with Ilse in Paris. While she appears content with Rick, she becomes increasingly uneasy as their time together comes to an end, knowing that her husband may not be deceased after all. She discovers that Victor is alive and in a different location as the Nazis approach Paris. After finding out that Rick is in possession of the letters, Laszlo meets with him in private the following night to discuss their acquisition. However, their conversation is interrupted when a group of Nazi officers led by Major Strasser take over the club and start singing Die Wacht am Rhein. Laszlo, incensed by this show of force, instructs the band to play La Marseillaise in support of France under occupation. Rick nods to the band leader, who looks to him for direction. Although Laszlo starts singing alone, the rest of the crowd soon joins in, and their long-suppressed nationalistic fervor drowns out the Germans. Strasser retaliates by ordering Renault to shut down the club. Later that evening, Ilse seeks out Rick in the deserted café. Despite being threatened with a gun, he refuses to hand over the documents. Ilse confesses that she still loves him but cannot bring herself to shoot him. She believes that Rick's decision to help Laszlo means that he will stay with her after Laszlo leaves. Laszlo is imprisoned for a minor offense, and Rick persuades Renault to release him by threatening to frame him for a more serious crime, possessing the letters of transit. However, Rick tricks Renault and forces him to assist in Laszlo's escape. At the last moment, Rick compels Ilse to board the plane to Lisbon with her husband, warning her that if she stays, she will regret it for the rest of her life, even though she declares her love for him. After Rick kills Major Strasser, Renault tips off the police to round up the usual suspects, and covers for him. He then suggests that they both leave Casablanca when his men arrive. As they walk into the fog, Rick remarks, "Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship."